Hello and welcome back to the On The Slab Horror Show, the show that we bring to you each and every Friday night. The t-shirt says it right, Friday night is horror night. But tonight we are joined by horror blogger Miss Cody Furman. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. It's a bit earlier in the day for yourself over there. You're
Yeah.
nestling nice and sunny LA.
Yeah, it's a little overcast right now, but a lot later there for you. What time is it there?
It's 10 o'clock.
Oh wow. I'm
Yeah,
surprised that you're up and doing this right now at 10. I would not be able to function.
I'm I'm running on empty. I am running on empty tonight, but sure, the show must go on.
And you have two young kids, right?
Yeah, I have two young kids that live with me. Yeah, I have three in total, but
Oh wow.
yeah, the two smaller ones have to go to bed, so
Yeah.
that's why the show gets put on a bit later.
Wow.
But
Uh,
yeah, so we've never had a blogger on or a social media. Well, we've had social media people on, but I've never had one that likes to be described as a blogger. So enlighten me on all things Cody.
So I started my blog in 2019 and I had a baby at home. I think you were telling me one of yours was born in 2018.
Yeah, well, basically 2019. She was born on New Year's Eve.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Not there. So I also have one born in 2016 and one born in 2019. So we have
pretty
that,
close.
yeah, that in common. And I had quit my job a couple of years before that. And so I was home with my son and I've always been a huge fan of horror. And I was sort of perusing Instagram and I noticed that there were not a lot of accounts dedicated solely to horror. I will say that that has changed so much in the last few years. I think there have been so many new accounts and podcasts, blogs, etc. And so I wanted to start my page as a way to celebrate all things related to horror. I was watching so many scary movies anyway. I figured I might as well watch them, talk about them, recommend them. So that's what I try to do. I try to at least every week, if not every couple of weeks, I recommend new movies. I also like to go out and visit haunted places and also abandoned places. Places for some reason are super intriguing to me. I don't know why. I mean, the haunted thing I get, but just the idea of being in an abandoned place, whether it's on the land or under the sea. I was just diving to an abandoned ship last week. I don't
No,
know. The idea of just
no,
yeah,
you've lost me.
with bull sharks swimming around,
Yeah,
it was
no, you lost me. The
yeah.
sharks bit, I do love sharks. They're one of my favorite animals. But you're not getting me in the sea.
Yeah.
That's not happening.
I will say though, it is a lot less scary being under the water where you can see them. I think swimming at the beach, knowing that there are sharks definitely nearby, is way scarier than being. Do you go to
They
the
can.
beach at all? Do you?
Nope.
No, yeah.
I don't like sand in general, but you're not getting me in the sea. Even over here, we have one type. Well, we've one type of decent shark over here. We've pro beagle sharks. They look really angry, but you're still not getting me in the sea. That's not happening.
Yeah.
To be fair, I
Um,
don't swim in rivers. I don't swim in lakes either. I swim in a
really?
swimming pool, and that's it.
Wait, but why not rivers or lakes?
Don't know. Just don't tend to.
Yeah.
It's just,
I mean, yeah, rivers and lakes scare me a lot less, although I mean, bull sharks obviously will go into rivers and lakes. So
and there's alligators and shit. We don't have any of that, which means it's generally pretty safe to swim in them, but I'm still not doing that.
I mean, where I live in Los Angeles, no alligators. It's totally safe to swim in lakes. There's basically nothing that can get you in a lake. But yeah, in Florida, I would not even walk near a lake in Florida. I would not let my children within probably 100 feet of a lake.
Well,
It's
I mean, when you look back, was it 3 years ago? Was it or 2018? That unfortunate family at Disney where the alligator killed the kid.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? The most magical place on earth for kids, and that happens. You know what I mean? So
so sad.
no waterway is safe.
No waterways are safe at all. Yeah. You, I mean, even playing golf, because I know you play golf and my dad's a big, he plays golf, a lot. And we have a house in Florida in Palm Beach. He says
Nice.
even if, if like, if the ball goes into the water at all on any golf course, it's like you don't go, even those little ponds at golf courses, you just have to assume that they're filled with alligators because the alligators are literally everywhere.
Yeah, like we got there, uh, say I think it was a late on a Tuesday night or something, and we were playing Wednesday morning, and we walked to the first tee box, and there was a big giant sign up that said, "There are alligators, there are poisonous snakes, and there are mountain lions. Please be careful." And I was like, I'm just going back to the car. No, don't get me wrong. I like reptiles for me. Like I had reptiles growing up and stuff, so they don't bother me. But like, I was like, how do you turn people off that come here to play golf by putting a big ass sign up? But
Was that
sure,
in Florida?
yeah,
In Florida,
I
yeah.
was up. I was up near Jacksonville.
Where I live, there are actually lots of mountain lions and neighbors. There's this app here in the States. I don't know if you guys have it there. It's called Nextdoor, and it's basically it's like it's almost like Instagram. It's like a social media app, but you connect with people that are near you, that live near you, neighbors. So when you log on, you see posts only from people that live nearby. So very frequently, neighbors will post pictures of mountain lions that they've captured on their cameras because they're
See,
all over here.
that's
Yeah, my three cats they cannot go outside here. They're
like
not safe.
this is what I mean. Like I know it's a horror show, but that's horrific for some people. Having
Yeah.
having things like that. So that's why we're tying this in. And if you don't like it, fuck it. It's my show. I'm running the show tonight. um, but like that's horrific for some people. Like imagine being not being able to go outside your house because there's a mountain lion standing there. Sorry, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like as you said, you like to visit abandoned things. You were in an underwater shipwreck. Like
Yeah.
how? Why? How?
Well, I started diving. I started diving about 10, 11 years ago. And I love diving. I typically only dive on vacation because I like to dive only in warm water. And so the water in California, the water on the East Coast, I'm not that into it. If it's cold, I don't, even if I have a wetsuit on, it's not fun for me. So I always go once or twice a year when I'm on vacation. And Florida has actually some of the best, the area that my parents, that we have a house, on a stretch of South Florida that has some of the best wreck diving in all of the world. So the county there, they've invested in, so they're not natural wrecks. They've actually sunk a ton of ships
Oh,
in this
for it.
area to create an artificial reef.
I mean that can only help the natural um wildlife as well.
Supposedly it does. I don't know how, but supposedly it's really good for the wildlife. So my goal is to every time I'm there to basically knock one or two of these wrecks off of my bucket list. I want to do every wreck in that strip, and I think there's probably 30. So it sort of depends on the conditions. It depends on when you go out with a boat. If you get to a certain wreck and there's already a dive crew, there's already a dive boat there, you don't want to go because too many people. So then they'll take you to another one. But I mean, I love diving. I typically just like diving when the water's warm, and it doesn't even have to be to a wreck specifically, but that's become my favorite type of diving. It's really cool. You get to usually you can swim through the boat and swim around it. And yeah, sharks actually like wrecks. It's like that first that dive that I was on last week, it was like it felt like, you know, the Little Mermaid,
Yeah.
you know, when she's like swimming through the boat and the shark tries to come in. I mean, that's I felt like that was going to happen to me, but it didn't.
I mean, I've seen Deep Blue Sea. There's a wreck there. I've seen what happens to those people. Again,
That's such
another
an
reason why you want.
underrated word.
It is probably the second best shark movie ever.
Jaws, number one.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah. Okay, you and I agree then. Jaws, number one, number two, Deep Blue Sea. It's a great movie.
yep. It is like some of the CGI in it. Okay, is a bit iffy, but I mean, there's not very. We might as well go into movies from here then for a minute. I mean, there's not very many good shark movies.
Yeah, there
Um,
aren't. I
like,
watched I watched one a few months ago, The Requin with Alicia Silverstone. Have you
oh, it
seen
was
that one?
terrible. Oh, it was terrible.
It just made me never want to stay in an underwater villa again, which I don't want to feel that way. I'm in an
Um,
overwater villa. I don't want to feel that
oh, it was
way.
so bad.
Yeah.
Like everyone talking, this is her big break back into acting and stuff. She probably should have stayed retired because that was atrocious. And there's parts of that movie where they've just cut the shark swimming from nature documentaries, and I've seen some of them.
Really?
Yeah, if not, they've basically just ripped it to bits.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I watched two shark movies last year, and they were two of the three worst movies I watched.
What movies?
So the Requiem was one, and Blood in the Water was another one.
How was that good?
No, it was terrible. That was the second worst movie I watched all year. It was so bad. They had a great white shark living in a cage in a swimming pool that they let out to eat people that they threw into the swimming pool. It
It's
was
not
like
a
a
bad.
game. It was like a game of Saw, or like a game from Saw, but the shark comes out on command. Uh, it was just awful, awful movie.
So what was the if that was the second, what was the worst movie that you saw last year?
Um, it was called All My Friends Are Dead. Let me just make sure that. No offense to the director if he's still listening to the show. He sent it to me, um, to watch, and he asked for an honest review, and I gave him an honest review. It was awful. No
Are you
offense.
friends with the director, or are you just connected with him on Instagram?
Yeah, we just connected on Insta. It's called All My Friends Are Dead.
Okay. I've heard of that one.
No, there's two of them. So another one came out, and like a big budget movie one came out last year called that, and then there was an indie one. Um, and it was obviously the indie one that I got. Like, don't get me wrong, it was a great idea for the film, but it just didn't work. But yeah, it was what it was. And then I might as well go into it now. Then, so we were talking a little bit off screen. The fourth worst movie of the year that I watched last year is one that you actually liked. We were talking just before we came on screen, and I'm sure I can almost hear the king from here. He's not actually here tonight. Texas Chainsaw 2022. That was the fourth worst movie. That shows how bad the other three were. that made it to the fourth worst movie of the year for me.
Wait, what was the third first before we get into that?
The third worst was The Requiem.
Oh, the
Yeah, The Requiem, Blood in the Water, and then All My Friends Are Dead, and then um,
Texas Chainsaw
Texas
Massacre.
Chainsaw was just before The Requiem.
So I didn't. I like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Tell me why you hated it so much. People
How,
hate that movie.
how, how long we got? So I said to you, I didn't mind the opening, which was fine, up until you see your one die, the old lady. And then it nukes the original story, completely nukes it, because in the original story he hasn't left that house, right? And this is supposed to be a direct continuation, and the old lady
Yeah,
is telling us that he's been in that orphanage since he was a boy. So you've taken that story and gone, no, hold on, we'll change it, which is okay. I can get changing the story a little bit, but that just started it off. The two main characters were two of the most unlikable characters I've ever seen in my life.
yeah. I agree
Excuse me.
with that. I agree with that.
Um, yeah, the two girls were just dreadful. Not that they were bad performances. The characters just weren't likable. Um, they tried to push stuff that probably didn't need to be pushed. Um, Obviously bringing Marlon Burns back, or well, obviously not Marlon Burns, but Marlon Burns' character,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden she goes from being a terrified girl to being this kick-ass ex-sheriff and gets killed in about 40 seconds, and you're like, why? What was the point? So I mean, I get that you're trying to. It's pretty much just ripping the idea of Halloween off, and did it really badly. Leatherface looked dreadful. Um, the only person I liked in that movie was the mechanic.
I actually liked him too, and I didn't want him to die. That was one of my biggest criticisms was I didn't think
And
he should have died
he he
so early on.
he got butchered. Um, the bus scene was just atrocious.
The what scene? Oh, the bus scene.
Oh, like I get it, it's a massacre, and this is probably the only one that has been a massacre in. But Jesus Christ, it was terrible. It was terrible. Oh, the whole movie was no. Oh,
I I agree with you. I think they could have found a way to work his story into that place without changing his like what actually happened in the story. I do think that that was weird. They didn't have to make it all of a sudden he grew up in this group home.
no,
And they could
he
have
just
found,
showed up one day.
yeah, they could have like found a way to, who knows, but I agree with that. Um, I agree that those two female protagonists were really unlikable. Um, I thought that the mechanic, I thought he was going to be the one to save them all because I thought like, oh, they're screwed. He's basically their only chance. Um, I wish he wasn't told off so early. And then the whole Sally part, I first of all, I'm if they actually killed her, I would be upset. I'm not convinced that she's killed. I'm convinced that there will be another Netflix movie because I think that I don't know, maybe not. Maybe because it had such poor reviews, they won't. But I just this whole time in my head I've said she's not actually dead. They didn't kill Sally, like the best, basically her and, Laurie Strode are probably the two best final girls of all horror movies ever. I like it seems like a cardinal sin to kill her, and so I just don't think that's what happened. I think they just shot her. She was shot, and I don't think she's actually dead. In my mind, I'm not convinced that she's actually dead because that would make me hate really not like the film, and I liked it.
So I'm kind of changing your opinion here.
not, I mean,
to an extent.
a little bit, maybe a little bit.
Now, I'm gonna stop you with something you just said there. You've just made a really bold statement here, and we're being recorded. That they're okay. Laurie Strode, fine, uh, but Sally's definitely not for me one of the best final girls.
You don't?
No,
Well,
I wouldn't
okay,
even have her in the top 10. I wouldn't think.
I don't, okay, so I don't think that she specifically is worthy of, I love the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's one of my
I
favorites.
I do to a point.
So that's why I consider her to be such a great, one of the best final girls. Do I think that Laurie Strode is way more worthy? Is she like a lot more badass and she
That
deserves that
she's just a
title?
goat though, isn't she?
What do you
Like
mean?
there's no one better than her really.
Yeah.
To an
Yeah.
like when you set the benchmark, if you want the top of the game, Laurie Strode's probably the one you think of in all of horror.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that.
Like, and as you says, like for picking a final girl, it's all obviously opinionated, depending on if you like the movie or not. So that kind of way. Like I like Texas Chainsaw. Like Carl, one of our co-hosts, it's one of his favorite two movies. So I'd say he'd have her up higher, a lot higher than I would. Um, I just never really bought her character. Although I've never watched a film where I wanted somebody to die more than Franklin. He's the most annoying character I've ever seen in a movie, ever. Ever.
Yeah.
So what? Normally you'll root if you see someone that's in a wheelchair in horror, which you don't see very often, or is somewhatly disabled. You'd be like, yeah, I hope they survive. No,
Yeah. You feel
uh,
badly for them even if you shouldn't.
I wanted that cunt to die badly. I hated him. And I tell you what, it was a really good job done by the actor as well. But as a character goes, I hated him.
Yeah. I actually, so speaking of Final Girls, I watched last night because I haven't watched it in a really long time. I'm not a long time. I watched it when it first came out, but I watched You're Next. I rewatched You're Next.
You're next. The one with the animal masks.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Sharni Vinson. Um,
I enjoyed that actually.
I thought it was a good film. She's the, I say, I say this and I stand by this. If you're just talking about like film aside, the movie aside, she's my favorite final girl.
Ooh. I mean,
She's so badass in that movie. I mean, she takes down and I don't have to worry about spoilers because everybody here, um, I'm sure.
it's an old movie anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, she takes down how many people
Seven.
single-handedly?
Is it seven?
More,
6 or 7?
more. It's like the three killers plus that whole family. It's at least 10 people, I think.
Well, okay, we go. With it. She was pretty badass.
She's amazing.
Um, well, we actually I should have stopped you there. I think we don't even have to put out a spoiler because I actually had Elsie Holt who played the guy with the lamb mask in
In
Your
that
Next.
movie.
Yeah, we had Elsie on. So we had a good conversation about Your Next and stuff.
Oh, cool. Wait, so
Yeah.
she was one of the killers?
No, Elsie was the guy in the lamb face mask.
Oh, well, God, yeah, okay, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So I don't remember which one he was
He's the one.
specifically.
He's the one that takes the nail in the foot and stuff.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, that one. I'm like, oh no, I felt for him. I did.
Yeah, that's a hard
Um,
scene to watch.
like that's something that I bring up quite regularly on this show. Like it's all well and good. I can sit there and I can watch people getting sort of blown up, thrown into blenders and stuff. Nothing like that really bothers me. It's the small things that can happen in real life. Standing on a nail, catching your hands in the door, something like that. It's just like I don't know. Have you seen X?
Yeah.
You know that scene where your man's walking in the barn and he steps on the nail and it actually shows you going all the way in. I was like, good lord. And like
Yeah.
2 seconds later, he gets stabbed in the eye, and you're like, that's unfortunate. But standing on the nail, I was like, you poor bastard.
Yeah.
And
It's
then,
like chopping a finger
yeah,
or
Jenna Ortega's one was just,
uh,
yeah,
pulling off a fingernail. That's always hard to watch
yeah,
too.
it's rough. Like X for me has quickly become one of my favorite horrors. I love Ty West, and I have done for a long time. From The Innkeepers was the first Ty West movie I've seen.
I haven't seen that actually, The Innkeepers.
It's it's slow, but it's very good.
Okay, I have to check.
Innkeepers and House of the Devil.
I've seen House of
Um,
the Devil.
yeah, and
I'm,
then
I'm
obviously,
writing it down right now. Innkeepers.
and then he's done obviously X, which lit up everything when it came out, and then he shocked everyone with how quick he brought Pearl out. Well, for years he brought Pearl out very quickly. Like
I liked Pearl way better than X. Way
so,
better.
I'm the other way, but I can understand why people jumped on Pearl, um, and like that more. Now we got word. Well, obviously we personally didn't get word, but A24 released a statement yesterday or the day before that filming on Maxine has started and it's going to be due out before the end of the year. So the Ty West trilogy should be complete by the end of the year, and I'm thinking Mia Goth is now probably the Scream Queen now.
Her and Jenna Ortega probably.
I would say so. I like Jenna Ortega, and I think she's brilliant in everything. But Mia Goth seems to literally be putting herself into horror, and that's it at the minute. Where Jenna Ortega she's done like the standoff, and she's done other stuff. Um, but yeah, so like anything she's touching is gold.
Did you see Infinity Pool?
Yeah, it's
I
it's
loved I loved
it's
Infinity.
mental. I
I
was
loved
sitting here going, "What the fuck is going on here?" If that's not a Brandon Cronenberg movie, I don't know what is.
Yeah, it was great. I
She
loved it.
was
I
she
mean,
was
I
brilliant
loved
in it.
I loved uh Possessor. Couldn't think of it, but Possessor was great. Yeah, Mia Goth was amazing. That scene at the end where they're all on the bus back to the airport and the wives are like, including Mia Goth, they're like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna like rearrange the furniture in my house while my
It's just
husband's
it's
I
just
was like,
mental.
what is going on?
Uh, Absolutely mental. Like I had no idea what it was. I read the review, one review, and it was like, it's just plain old crazy. So I just said, "Do you know what? I'll put it on. It can't be that bad." I was expecting more um body horror. Obviously the way his dad used to do it,
Mhm.
but I was pleasantly surprised with what we got with it, and it was a really good concept and idea.
Yeah.
Um, like we keep for the other podcasts we have on Retrotainment Recast, we keep a list of all the movies we watch from this that were released this year, and we'd rank them as to what we think was the best. I think I have 16 movies watched, and I have Infinity Pool at 7
So what's your so what are your tell me what your favorites are
so far this year.
so far this year.
So 2023. I have Viking Wolf at number one.
Okay, I'm gonna write this down too, Viking Wolf, because I saw that that's on Netflix, right?
Yeah, absolutely amazing movie.
Okay, I'm gonna
And one
that's
of one of the best transformation scenes since. American Werewolf.
Okay.
Yeah. Knock at the Cabin 2.
I loved that one. I love Knock at the Cabin. Knock at the Cabin, what was I seeing? I think after I saw Scream, I got home really late and I said, "Oh, I'll just turn Knock at the Cabin on for a few minutes." And I turned it on, and then just obviously it's such a short movie. I watched the entire thing, which like I said to you before, if it were 10 o'clock right now, I would be asleep. Like I wouldn't be able to do what you do because I go to bed so early. The fact that I started that movie really late after a movie and had to finish it because it was that good, I mean, that definitely said something for me.
I put it on. I actually came down. So my kids woke up early one Saturday, and then they went upstairs to play. And I was sitting down here, and I was like, yeah, it just happened to be on the telly, and I was like, yep, I'll watch it. And it actually, that movie got me back into rewatching almost all of M. Night Shyamalan's movies. So
What
I went and rewatched Signs. I rewatched The Village, which I hadn't seen since it came out in the cinema, and I hated it. And I rewatched it there probably about 2 weeks ago, and I loved it. It was brilliant.
I actually, I want to do that now. I want to go rewatch M. Night Shyamalan movies. I need to rewatch The Sixth Sense. It's been way too long.
I went. So my wife hadn't seen that and didn't know the twist, and she sat here and watched it with me. And normally she'll sit if she's not into a movie, she'll sit and watch it for an hour or two, and then or an hour, and she'll go upstairs then. But she sat and watched the whole thing, and it was literally a minute before the end of it, where you see where he reveals that he's actually dead. She's like, "Oh, he's dead, isn't he?" And I was like, "What?" And she's like, "I was like, yeah." I was just like, "Yeah, brilliant." Um, now
So good.
I'm about to start the. I've been saying for 2 weeks now. I'm about to start the trilogy he done. Obviously, Unbreakable, Split and Glass.
Yeah.
But I don't really like James McAvoy, so I've kind of been putting it off and putting it off. So I'm like, I will get there. But yeah, I had Knock at the Cabin 2. There's an Irish movie called Unwelcome.
Okay, I'm writing that down. Unwelcome.
Uh, it's it's fun, and I think I have it rated a lot higher than I probably should. But because it's Irish, I'm like, yeah. I have Scream at 4. I have friend of the show, Jake Robinson, his upcoming movie from Cryptid Pictures, The Wendigo.
The Wendigo. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm writing this down. You're giving me a lot to watch, so this is great. The Wendigo. Okay.
um, so Jake has a production company, and they're running a couple of films. They've had The Mothman. Obviously, remember Richard Gere done The Mothman Prophecies, so pretty much something similar to that. He's had The Wendigo. He has a new one coming out called My Brother's Keeper, and
Okay.
myself and Ian, one of the other co-hosts, are actually going to be in it.
Oh, wow.
So shout out to Jake. I have Infinity Pool then at 6 actually. Sorry, not 7. Murder Mystery at 8 at 7. There's the only one that's not horror on the list.
Murder Mystery
Uh,
2.
yeah, it was enjoyable. I watched it over the weekend. We
I
have a.
sorry. I was just gonna
Go
say
ahead.
I have to my husband and I are like waiting for a time to watch it together, but I really want to watch that one too.
It's it's not bad. Like I enjoyed the first one, so we went with that one. We have a Ghost with David Harbour and Anthony Mackie.
So that's on your list. We have a ghost.
Yeah.
I read, I don't know, all the reviews I read were so bad that I haven't watched it yet.
Like I have it. Sorry, I have that one space higher than it should be. I have Craven After Murder Mystery. Um, Craven is Jason Horton's creature feature. It's another indie movie.
Okay.
With Felicia Rose and stuff in it. Then We Have a Ghost. Then I have Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Cocaine Bear. Uh, Shout out to the lads from Slaughter Beach. It's another indie movie that's coming out. It's available for pre-order on Blu-ray from SRS Cinemas. Um, it's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek kind of slasher movie.
Wait, and
Uh,
what's that called?
Slaughter Beach.
And
We had the lads on a while back.
was that coming out or you've already seen it?
I've seen it. The lads sent me a screener before we did the episode, and then I had the director, producer, and the main villain on.
And
Um,
is it good?
it's fun. It's very fun. Like
Okay.
it's one of them horror movies you can put down, turn your brain off, and just sit and enjoy it. Then I've Night of the Axe, The Monster Mash, and Summer the Wolf. So I'm not too bad. I'm 15 movies in for the year, and only one of them isn't horror.
I'm very, very, very excited for Cocaine Bear to come out on Peacock on Friday. I've been waiting for it to come out.
So that was actually filmed where I'm from.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was filmed in Bray and Wicklow in Ireland. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah. It's
Loved
fun.
it?
It's fun. It's
Yeah.
very fun. And there's some bits in it, and you're like, Jesus Christ. Like I won't say anything because obviously you haven't seen it. Um, but it was certainly a fun creature feature,
Yeah. Did
and
you
I
see?
was surprised having Ray Liotta in it as well. It's his last acting role,
Yeah.
which was sad, but these things happen.
Yeah. Did you see Megan?
No, I haven't sat down to check it out yet.
You should check that out. I put it off until, I don't know, a month ago, and it's really good. It's really fun. And there's a scene, I mean, I laughed out loud. It's
Is it?
good. It's
It's not the
great.
dancing scene, is it?
No, it's not
Oh,
the dance
I don't
scene.
know.
It's this scene in the woods. I won't elaborate, but it's really funny.
Like a friend of mine has a podcast there. Shout out to Morris over in GP Productions. He actually had the girl who played Megan, the little New Zealander, New Zealand Kiwi, whatever. I don't know what you call them. Person from New Zealand. I think she's only 12 or 13 on, and I was like, yeah. So I listened to that, and I was like, I'm gonna sit down and watch it. It doesn't. It's not my kind of thing. Like I wouldn't be into um like AI or the doll. Like I've dolls. I'm not a fan of Child's Play or anything like that.
Hmm.
I mean, I've watched them, but it wouldn't be my go-to. Wouldn't be my shtick. But so let's see. Let's get a question for you then. What kind of horrors do you like?
I I would say, I mean, I like all kinds of horror as long as it's made well, but I tend to like psychological horror.
Don't use the other word.
What?
The other
What's
way,
the other?
some people call them elevated horror.
Oh, no, no, no. I
I
wouldn't say
cannot stand that. Can't
no.
stand that term. Like
I would
it
never.
and yeah, we actually had an episode on me giving out about that word, elevated horror, because they're in no way better than any other horror.
I agree with you. There's no.
I mean, psychological horror, fine. Some of the best horrors are psychological horrors. Like look at Psycho.
Yeah. I
I mean,
like I I tend to like it really depends because like some of the best films in every genre I love. I love when horror comedy is done well, like Scream. It's amazing.
Scream's
Um,
not a horror comedy.
the
Scream
first one,
3 is.
the first one is, oh my gosh, the first one is 100% a horror comedy. You
I'm gonna
didn't
say.
you didn't laugh the whole, I mean, I laughed.
I mean, this actually came up in a show a couple of weeks ago. That nearly every horror I can think of has some comedy relief in it.
No, you're right. You're right.
Barring maybe The Exorcist. Uh, there's a couple others, but along the way. But thing like, if I was to pick any of the screams to say that it was more of a comedy, would be three.
Yeah, yeah, I see that.
Um, don't get me wrong, Scream is fantastic. It's probably the strongest franchise overall. Where you, like this is obviously another debate that comes up on the show. Like, which franchise is better? Scream overall is probably the strongest. I mean, out of the six movies, they're probably stronger than any six from another franchise. Now you're thinking through.
I mean, I would say that the Halloween films are a contender. Although, what did you think of? Tell me what you thought of Halloween Ends.
I liked it.
Honestly, I didn't think it was that bad, but I laughed at it. I
The ending, I wasn't a fan of the ending. Like, don't get me wrong, killing him off was fine, but the whole like getting the town out to carry his body and stuff was a bit weird. But I enjoyed it. Overall, I enjoyed it. Like, a lot of people hated it. I really enjoyed it.
I didn't think it was the worst film ever, but some parts just seemed so stupid that I was actually laughing at it, which I don't think is usually if a film is taking itself seriously and you're laughing at it. I don't
That's
know if
never
that,
a good sign.
yeah, it's not a good sign. But
Like
um,
the Top Gun montage probably didn't wasn't needed where he's driving around on the bike for ages.
yeah,
But
that was
I mean,
that was one of the parts. That was definitely one of the parts. We I just remember my husband and I were looking at each other during that part and we were just laughing. We're like, didn't they just meet 5 minutes ago? Like, what's happening?
so I'll give you a funny story there from myself. So myself, my wife, and Tombstone Ted, who's another guy who comes on the show quite a bit, went to see it, and that scene, like, I was working the same shift I was today, where it starts at 5 a.m. and we went to see it like 9 o'clock at night, or 7 o'clock, or 8 o'clock at night, something like that. And that scene comes on where they're driving along on the bike, and I started to fall asleep, right? And normally I'd be fairly solid in movies, like I very rarely get jump scared at. But you know the way when they stop and the homeless guy jumps out from behind the pillar, it woke me up and I nearly hit the roof of the cinema. I was like, "What the fuck was that?" I was like, "Jesus Christ!" And the lads haven't let me live it down yet. I was like, "Lads, I was asleep." But I would probably have to disagree with you saying the Halloween. If you were to pick six of the best Halloweens, would they match up to the six best Screams? Obviously, Halloween 1 for me, will beat any of them. Ted will disagree. Um, Halloween 3, but then what other four do you pick? Do you go the new trilogy and one other one? Or do you go 4, 5, 6, which were terrible?
Yeah.
Do you see where I mean going? Where I'm saying I think Scream's the strongest.
I have to I feel like I have my memory is not serving me as well as it could. Now I feel like I have to rewatch all of these movies in order to
Sorry.
make which is what
Sorry.
I do, which is what I do anyway, which is why, for instance, I watched Your Next last night for something totally different, but I had to rewatch it because I felt like my memory didn't
I
serve
mean,
me.
do you know what I watched actually quite recently for the first time? I watched Ready or Not.
Yeah, that's a good
She was
one.
badass in that. Samara Weaving was badass in that.
She was okay.
Sorry,
She,
she was
yeah,
badass in the second half of the movie.
I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily call her badass. I think she's really pretty, and I think that she managed to survive, which was incredible. But I don't know. I would have shot that. I would have taken that kid's gun and shot him in the face. Like, I think that she, and I have children, but like, there were opportunities that she didn't take, which is partially why I like Sharni Vinson from Next.
She she
Like,
takes
I,
chances.
yeah, like, she shoots to kill. She's, there were points during Ready or Not where I was like, come on, about Samara Weaving. But I get it. She was thrown into that situation. She wasn't expecting it. She did the best that she could. Maybe she didn't want to kill a child.
I'd have shot that kid so fast.
Yeah, me too.
Um, but then
Crazy.
just before we kind of wind down, we'll go to a couple of the big horrors from last year, and I'll get your opinion on them, and we'll see where we go.
Okay.
Right. Quick fire round. Well, actually, Scream 6 was this year, but what did you think?
I loved it. I thought it was great.
I came out of the cinema a little disappointed.
Why?
I think I was too harsh on it. I think I need to watch it a second time to give it a proper judgment. I wanted something to happen more than I should have, and it probably was never going to. So I don't like we've done the review and stuff, but I think I wanted the killer to be Stu more than I should have, and I think they've been teasing it for so long that the reveal was kind of a little bit of a letdown in this one for me. I think it was a very easy one, the same way they did it with two. Obviously two being Billy's mum, where this one turned out to be Jack Quaid's dad. And I was like, okay, that's fine. It is what it is. I thought they could have had Stu come in and just have the cop be a cop, and Stu masterminding the thing. That was Ted as well. Had said the same. Um, some really good death scenes, some really good cinematography. Like I was overall, the more I think about it, until I watch it a second time, I can't say that I hated it. I can't say that I loved it. I think there's a couple of small bits in it, but overall I quite enjoyed it to an extent, till the third act anyway. But I'd prefer to give it another watch at the minute and see. I just can't. I'm not paying for it to go see it in the cinema again.
It'll be streaming.
Relatively soon.
Mhm.
All right. So we've got a loved for Scream, Terrifier 2.
I loved it.
It was unreal, wasn't it?
Did you? I loved it. Did you hate it?
No, I loved it.
Oh, loved it. Okay, good. I went
Loved
to
it.
see, my husband's not a horror person, and I I went to see that by myself one night, like on a Friday or Saturday night, and I loved it. I thought it was great.
350 grand budget,
Yeah, for the
boxing
budget.
14 million again, and it ran against Halloween. Damien Leone done was just phenomenal.
Yeah, it was great.
Um, right, what else was there? What else was there? Well, I better get the list.
What about Barbarian?
Loved it.
Yeah,
Absolutely loved it. So
loved it.
what? A couple of weeks ago, I had an episode where I got the chance to sit down with Matthew Patrick Davis, who played the mother in it,
Oh, cool.
and I said to him, and I said it on a couple of episodes. There's not many movies that swerve me anymore. That got me big time. Didn't see that coming at all.
This scene where they're like with the homeless guy, and he is that the one that like you mean
No, so
the jump scare?
no, you know where like I didn't realize that it was a creature feature kind of way.
Oh,
I thought,
meaning like it kept you guessing, as in you didn't know where it was going.
yeah, I thought it was going to be them leading Bill Skarsgård to be a
Yes.
stalker, because that's the way. The only ad I seen was about 40 seconds, and it was just like that.
Yeah.
But when they were down in the tunnel and out came the mother, I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. No,
But
I'm right there with you. I that
loved it,
took caught me totally off guard.
loved it. Um, so obviously Pearl and X.
Um, I thought X was okay. I loved Pearl.
Um, let me see, let me see. Scream 5 was last year.
Oh, I forgot about Scream 5. I liked Scream 5. I liked it.
I it was my number one movie of the year for a long time. It finished up at 11.
Yeah, I liked it.
Um,
It was good.
Black Phone.
I loved Black Phone. I loved it.
That was my number one horror of the year.
Yeah, I think it was in my top five for sure. That was great.
Uh, so like my top 10 consists of one, two, three, four, five, six. So seven of the top 11 were horror films.
Yeah, all of my, so did I do a top 25, top 20, top 25 I did, and I included my number, well, Nope was my number one. I love Nope. I love Jordan Peele.
All right, I'm
He's
just gonna end this now.
You don't
It,
want to see my top 10 list because you're not going to like another one that's on there. But I, my number two was The Northman, which
my,
isn't,
num- my number two was The Northman.
oh, really? I loved The Northman. I thought it was amazing. It's not really horror, but you can consider it horror. So I just put
It's
it on.
it's gladiators with Vikings.
Yes, I love Gladiators. I'm excited for the
I'm I'm not.
new. No, I don't know. I love Gladiator. I'll take anything. I'll take any.
Um, I mean, I'm gonna watch it. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, it wouldn't be. I'm not high up on my list to see. Um, but yeah, I thought the Northman would have been hard to beat. I thought Scream would have been hard to beat, and then I watched the Northman, and I was like, that's not gonna get better until I watched Top Gun.
Top Gun was great.
Yeah, Top Gun was fantastic. Um, was Top Gun, the Northman. Um, sorry, Top Gun, the Northman, Black Phone, Prey was 4.
I loved Prey.
Phenomenal, absolute. That's a way to bring back the Predator series. Um, the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent was 5.
I thought that one was great. It was
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, I mean, that was really funny. I laughed at that a lot.
Um, X6, Terrifier 7. Funny enough, now I have Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers at 8.
That's amazing.
It was so good, so good. Barbarian 9, Pearl 10, Scream 11. Uh, then it's Sonic at 12, Day Shift at 13, which I really enjoyed.
I like Day Shift a lot.
The lads didn't. I'm going to read this down to 20 for you, right? Because my number 20 is one that might interest you. Uh, 14 was Sing, 15 Jackass, 16 was Beast.
I loved Beast.
Uh, Elba's a beast.
Yeah,
17 was Fresh.
I loved
Uh,
Fresh. Fresh was in my top five for sure. I thought that was great. I did not see that coming. That
yeah,
totally,
brilliant it was.
yeah.
Violet Night 18, Batman 19. But one that, just before we close out the show, right, is going to actually interest you because it's something you like to do, right? You like to go to the film sets, don't you?
To sets, yeah,
Yeah, well, not sets, but
like
like move
locations.
locations. Yeah. So this movie is based on that. Made by a friend of the show, Jeff Seaman, and stars other friend of the show, Cheney Morrow, and a couple others, Kate Kiddo as well. It's called Terror Trips.
Terror Trips.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
As far
ready.
as I know, it's on Amazon Prime for use.
Okay.
Um, it's about a guy who sets up a business, bringing people to the locations of horror movies. So like Camp Crystal Lake for Friday the 13th. I know it's in New Jersey or somewhere, and like Elm Street and stuff, but you don't think. But they go to one in Poland where a movie is made, or Russia, but and stuff goes bad. Elsie Holt is in it as well, the guy from Your Next, who I was saying with the lamb mask.
Mhm.
Very good, very well worth a watch.
Okay. I
It's
am
dark, it's dreary, and it's just awesome.
cool.
Mm.
Well, you've given me a good list of things to watch, so thank you.
Now, I've got one more question before we finish up. Have you seen American Werewolf in London?
Okay, I have not seen it.
Damn
And
it.
that I know, just listen, just listen. I have a I'm so next week, do you know, do you know uh hold on. I'm all flustered because I oh my gosh, what is his name? Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm going on another podcast next week, and it is, I know who this is because I talked to him and I was on his podcast before. Sledgehammer Horror.
Oh, you put me to the
Okay.
sword now.
Okay, so Sledgehammer Horror, I'm going on next week. We're doing the top 10 standalone horror movies of all time. It's us, it's he, his wife, another person, me, and we're all going through the top 10 horror movies of all time and standalone. So like Halloween, Texas Chainsaw, if it has a sequel, a prequel, anything like that, it can't be on this list. And I have a very short list of movies that I absolutely have to watch before this discussion. And that one,
You can't
American
put that
Werewolf
on it
in
though.
London, it's at the top of my list because I have to watch it, obviously.
But
And
you can't put that in it.
why does it have a sequel?
Unfortunately, it does have a sequel.
Okay, well then that's easy for me. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, it's got Ameri It's probably the worst sequel ever made in American Werewolf in Paris.
There are so many, it's when you think about making that list, it actually becomes very difficult because so many great movies have sequels that I never
Knew
even
of.
had. Like I thought, oh, for sure I'm gonna put The Lost Boys. That's such a great one.
There's three of them.
I I didn't even know that there were
Yeah.
other ones.
I'll help you out with that when we jump off. I'll give you a couple.
Okay, yeah.
But have you anything you'd like to post or plug for the minute? Your Instagram or
Oh, sure. Please follow me on my Instagram handle is Cody Loves Horror. CODYLOVESHORROR.
perfect,
That's it. Yeah,
nice and
that's it.
easy. We'll attach it in the post anyway when it goes up.
Thank you.
Um, but what I'll do, folks, is I'll finish this the way I finish every Friday night. But beforehand, Cody, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. You're welcome back absolutely any time. Um, and you're lucky that the words Jordan Peele came out at the end of this episode. Otherwise we'd have been in some bother because somebody might have got roasted.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun, and you've really given me some great movies to watch. So thank you.
Perfect. And we will close it out now the same way I close it out every weekend. In the words of the great George Romero, ladies and gentlemen, stay scared.